I like it. It's very real and just raw. But onto a fast story. On Matters Dairy, dairy farmers affiliated to Brookside have received 182 million shilling reward in bonuses between July and November this year. Meet the processor, which partners with 160,000 farmers, paid 138 million shillings in bonuses to its farmers. The latest payout will benefit dairy groups and individual farmers across the country who signed up for the program and have been supplying raw milk to the company. All right, Ken. This issue of bonuses, when you talk about how people are educated, I like quoting the good Professor Njuguna Ndungu, who keeps saying, I was educated by coffee. Yeah, back in the day, and the bonuses is something that farmers will look forward to. Is it that time when the government is saying that we have to go back to export-led growth? Is this, the dairy sector, one of the areas that needs reforms? And if so, what reforms?
No, absolutely not. The dairy sector has the potential to generate this country significant revenue, not just from its local consumption, but internationally. Surprisingly, countries like India, which is the largest dairy producer today, actually came to do some of its studies in the 70s in Kenya and has been able to take it much more. So I think the dairy sector is extremely strategic, but indeed a lot of reforms need to be done. If you look at the Dairy Act, it has not been reviewed since 1940. So we are talking of well over 80 years. And that needs to be looked at in terms of the whole aspect of processing, production, marketing. So I think it's an extremely, extremely important sector that can create livelihoods across the country.
Definitely. And it seems like there's always this issue of a lot of countries have done research here. We're told, Singapore came here. Now they are doing better than us. Now it's India. What's the problem? Is it implementation? We have very good paperwork and theory, and just implementing some of these tenets becomes a big problem?
I think it is. I think one of the biggest assets this country has, it's in its human capital. The 844 curriculum, which is coming to an end right now, has had its merits. It has had its capacity to deliver a very well-educated labor force. And that's why you find we have really the best research when it comes to a lot, whether it's beef, where we saw Botswana coming to Kenya to study about the beef industry, or whether it's India that came to Kenya to study about our dairy. So we have high-quality research, but sometimes because of vested interests, much of this research doesn't really reach the ordinary person out there. It just gathers dust at the ministry. So I think it's more of how do we get these ideas back to the local farmer? How do we empower people? Because the knowledge is there, but it's not being used like other countries are.
Definitely. And now even in the conversation around food security, Ken, there's this issue about interventions when it comes to the big players, in the food sector, and the way they impact legislation, especially for the developing world. Talk about seed. People are patenting seeds now. And if you're found, replanting the seed or something like that, a lot of control is coming into the food sector. And it seems now, as a continent, I'm seeing more conversation on this, especially online. Is it high time that we look at the fine print, in between the sentences, in regards to some of the legislation that touch on the food sector?
Absolutely no. I think the time is ripe for that because food is big business, and big players are willing to really get a slice of this segment. If you look at the debate around privatization, the issue of the Kenya Seed Company has really generated a lot of controversy on social media. People saying this will be an opportunity for the big European farms to come and take over. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think if Parliament plays its role, of its oversight role, we can get the best of both worlds, where you have high quality seeds being availed, but in a way that the seeds are do not really impact on the livelihoods, because farming is something that has been practiced for thousands of years and cultures are formed on that. So you don't want to disrupt that, but you also want to get the benefits of innovation, the benefits of science, the benefits of research and development. So Parliament has to be, and along the other organizations have to be there to really make sure the oversight is very strong.
Definitely. That's very important. And lastly, before we leave the issue of food, because we started on milk, yeah, and I like the way it's just expanding. It reminds me of the Milky Way. Galaxy, yeah. I know. I used to be a poem when I was younger, kid. You just laughed there. This is the thing, though. Now I'm thinking now in regards to moving forward, in regards to food security interventions, and some of the areas that we encourage to is, you remember our famous friend, yeah, Mr. Ahorondoho always say, learn to feed yourself. If you can plant your own food, that is one of the greatest assets that you can have in the current world. Do you think with the education system and the way the society is structured right now, it is something that is being taken intentionally to start at the individual level to transform this whole conversation on matters of food security?
I think that's an important question. If you look at our education system, in as much as I've talked about the merits a few minutes ago in terms of producing a well-educated labor force, one thing it really comes short of is the issue of agriculture. You know, I was really surprised the other day. I went to one of the local universities that is named from agriculture, but I was remarkably surprised that less than 20 students every year take up the course of agriculture and stuff. So it tells you that our education system in a way prepares people for white-collar jobs in governments, in offices, in corporations, such as here, but not too many people are being prepared to be farmers. You know, the average age of the farmer in Kenya is about 65 years. And we always ask, where is the next generation of young farmers who are going to come and feed this country? The next thing really is about land use, land policy use. If you look at what's happening in some of the prime fertile lands, you know, real estate has really cropped up. So counties need to work on what is called the County Integrated Development Plan. Last week we saw Kajiado released its, and we're expecting to see other counties rolling that out. But it needs to be very clear within the counties, what are the food growing areas, what are the urban, what are the residential areas. That kind of planning can really help a country become much more food secure.
Definitely, very important. The intentionality is very critical. Now, this is one area that Ken is always very passionate about when you talk about